How's it going, everyone? Hope you're all well. Mr. Boulder here. Back tonight with a big video. Tonight it's my top 30 albums of 1995. It's been a while since I did 1994. It was actually 9 months ago, so it's about time I got off my arse and got this video done. Going to be quite a long video, so I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get straight into it. Kicking off at number 30 with some alternative rock. And this is the Presidents of the United States of America and their self-titled debut. I only picked this up about 6 months ago. I remember hearing the singles from this album constantly on the radio back in the mid-90s, but I only got around to picking this album up about 6 months ago. And really good, really enjoy this one. It kicks off with Kitty, which has got some really funny lyrics in it. It's got a really nice chorus. Lump, which is the first single I ever heard. Very, very catchy, great chorus. Peaches again, another single which was really, really good. June Buggy was another single, great track. We're Not Gonna Make It is really, really good. A lot of the vocals in that, and the lyrics are very funny. Kick Out the Jams is on here. Back Porch, Candy, Naked and Famous, great closing track. Very, very quirky. Has to be said. If these guys took this album to a label back in 1988 when glam metal was king, then these guys wouldn't have got a look in at all. But back in the mid-90s, of course, when alternative was king, obviously these guys got a deal, and this has sold 3 million copies. So yeah, it's quite quirky, quite weird, but very catchy and poppy at the same time. You know, there's a lot of good sing-along choruses and catchy parts in this. Yeah, like I said, I've only had 6 months, but the Presidents of the United States of America's debut is really, really good. Really enjoy that one. That one comes in at number 30. First record. And it's Skid Row, Subhuman Race. Without a doubt, nowhere near as good as the two that come before it. But to be said, has to be said, there's plenty of good stuff on this at the same time. This is, of course, the last album I did with Sebastian before he left. And has never been back since. I actually saw these guys at Donington this year when this album came out. I mean, the first two tracks, My Enemy and Fire Sign, are absolutely fantastic. Beat Yourself Blind is a good song. The title track Subhuman Race I really enjoy. Face Against My Soul, Medicine Jar, great track actually. Iron Will, but there's definitely some filler on this that I don't really care for. I can listen to the whole album and enjoy it, but some of the stuff in here is definitely not as catchy and as strong as what come before it. The guitar riffs are good, the drums from Rob Alfuso are good, and of course the vocals from Sebastian Bach are excellent. But just not as good as the first two, it has to be said. But certainly not a bad album. But there's no denying it doesn't have anywhere near the quality of the first two. But Subhuman Race from Skid Row is still a decent listen, no doubt about it. Just don't go expect it to be as good as the first two, because it's not. Right, number 28. Definitely have more time for this album than I used to, and it's Van Halen's Balance. This is the last one to feature Sammy Hagar in his initial run with the band. Yeah, I used to literally think there was about 2 good songs in this, and that's it. But I've changed my opinion since. Kicks off with The Seventh Seal, which is a great track. Can't Stop Loving You, that was a single. I remember hearing that at the time on the radio. Really good song. Very catchy, very radio friendly. You've got other stuff on this like Don't Tell Me. Amsterdam, track 4, is absolutely fantastic. It's got a great chorus. But some of the laziest lyric writing you'll ever hear in your entire life. The lyrics in the chorus is pretty much Wham Bam Amsterdam and Goddamn Amsterdam. Sounds like Sammy wrote those lyrics with about 30 seconds before walking into the vocal booth to record his final take. Great song, but laughable lyrics in the chorus, that has to be said. Not Enough is a great track, actually. Aftershock. But there's a few tracks in here that kind of pass me by. A little bit on the filler side, but I definitely enjoy this way more than I used to. I'd love to get on vinyl, but my God, it's hard to come by. And when it turns up, it's bloody expensive. So that's number 28, Van Halen's Balance. Decent album. Some really strong stuff on it, but a bit of filler on there as well, it has to be said. Up next, now, I haven't listened to this band for such a long time. I listened to them loads back in the 90s. Listened to them constantly, but I literally have not listened to this album for years. And it's Silverchair. This is Frog Stomp. This is a 3-piece from Australia. They were only about 16, 17 when they put this album out, I think. Some of the lyrics on this album are quite laughable, but I'm not hating on Daniel Johns, because I think for a lot of us looked back at writings of that we wrote back in when we were only sort of 16, 17 years ago. We probably cringed at them as well. But yeah, 3-piece from Australia. Some great stuff on this. Israel Sun, first song, is really, really good. Track 2, Tomorrow, probably my favourite on the album. Some really nice guitar playing on that. Pure Massacre's a great track. So Leave Me Out. Suicidal Dream, Madman, Undecided. A lot of really good stuff on this. There's only a couple on this that I'm not too fussed about. But great riffs from Daniel Johns and vocals. Ben Gillis on the drums. Chris, can't remember his surname, on the bass. So the rhythm section is really good as well. So really good, really good strong songs on this. Like I say, some of the lyrics are a little bit laughable, but they're only very young when they wrote them. But yeah, it was nice to hear this again, actually. They went on to do better things, but their debut, Frog Stomp, from Silverchair, is really, really good album. Really enjoy this one a lot. And it was good to hear it again, it has to be said. Right, number 26, and some thrash metal now. And this is Hate Squad and IQ Zero. This is their second full-length album. This is the only thing I've got from these guys. Picked this up very cheap off of eBay a while ago for literally about £2. My mate had this on cassette back in the day. I had it on dub cassette, never replaced it. Finally got around to grabbing this CD a few years ago. So like I say, thrash metal, but definitely the vocals definitely owe a nod to death metal. Not really guttural and low. You can still hear the words and what's being sang, but there's definitely some death metal in these vocals. A good thrash metal album. Not a lot of thrash in 1995, it has to be said, but these guys did a good job. Not My God, first tune, is absolutely fantastic. Really, really strong chorus, great vocals. My Truth, track 3 is really good. The title track, IQ Zero, is great. Different From You, Terror, Respect. Good thrash from these guys. Some really nice riffs on this, actually. Guitar playing's very, very stellar. Drums are great and the vocals are really good. And yeah, Hate Squad's IQ Zero is a really, really good album. When you weren't getting loads of thrash back in 95, but these Germans were definitely delivering the goods here. This is a really enjoyable album. If you're into thrash, you've not heard this, definitely recommend checking it out. Hate Squad's IQ Zero, German thrash, really, really good stuff. Up next, we're at number 25. And another album that I didn't originally have a lot of time for when it first came out, and it's Stomp 442 from Anthrax. The second album to feature John Bush on the vocals. I was literally years ago of the opinion of the first 2 songs and the rest can get in the bin. Not the case now. So consequently, yeah, the first 2 tracks on this, Random Acts of Senseless Violence and Fueled, are absolutely fantastic. The vocals in Random Acts of Senseless Violence are really, really good. It's got a really good strong chorus. I like the backing vocals in there as well. Fueled, which is the first single, another great track. Again, very, very catchy. Some nice riffs. Riding Shotgun, track 4, really good. King Size, track 3 is good as well. Inner Zone is good. American Pompeii, track 8, I really like. Drop the Ball. Bear. Bear's actually a song that is mostly acoustic, and then right towards the end, they bring out the drums and the guitars. And for me, it's completely unnecessary. It doesn't bring anything to the song at all. They should have just kept it as it was, an acoustic song, which sounded really nice. A few tracks in here that are filler that I don't care for, but definitely more quality on this than I originally thought it had back in the day. Not as good a sound of What I Know as that, has to be said, but definitely better than the album that came out after it. That is an absolute piece of shit, Volume 8. But Stomp 442 from Anthrax is an album that I definitely appreciate more these days. Not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I still really enjoy it. Right now, number 24 and another CD, and need to rectify a mistake here, because I actually include this in my albums of 1994, but it actually came out in 1995. The reason that I made the mistake is because when I look at my iPod on this album on my iPod, it actually says 1994. But yeah, someone corrected me in my video, and it did actually come out in 1995. So black metal, of course, from these legends. Very, very lo-fi production. Really nice guitar riffs. Drums are amazing. Vocals from ABBA are really, really good. The first track, the title track, is my favourite. Battles in the North is really vicious and nasty. At the Stormy Gates of Mist is really, really good. Grim and Frostbitten Kingdoms is a fantastic track. And Circling Above in Time Before Time. Really good stuff. Very vicious, very brutal sounding. Like I said, the lo-fi production helps with this, I think. It wouldn't sound right if it was really, really perfectly polished. But Battles in the North from Immortal, excellent album. The only black metal one you'll see on this list, but really, really good stuff, no doubt about it. Great album. Number 23 now, and some death metal. And this is Morse Gold, and it's For All Eternity, isn't it? Yep. For All Eternity. I've only had this since about January. I've only actually been listening to these guys for about a year or two now. Excellent stuff. This has got quite basic production on it, which is nice actually, because a lot of the death metal albums back in the early to mid 90s were produced at Morris Sound, and whereas they all sound great, they all sound very similar. That Morris Sound's production was all very, very similar sounding, but this one, a bit more of a lo-fi production, but not bad sounding production in the slightest. Great riffs on this. The vocals are superb. Excellent drums. Tracks like Bitter Resentment's first track, superb. Justify, really good. Title track For All Eternity is excellent. Burning Delight, The Vicious Circle, Germ Farm. This is just really, really good, solid death metal from a band that, like I say, literally 2 years ago, I'd never listened to. I've picked up quite a bit of their stuff ever since, and I'm really glad I wasn't familiar with them at the time, but Morse Gold For All Eternity is an excellent slice of death metal. Like I say, I'm quite new to it, but really enjoying it. It's a good album. Definitely worth checking out if you're into death metal. For some reason, you've not heard it. Number 22 now, and Slash's Snake Pit, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Saw these guys at Donington this year as well. This is an excellent slice of bluesy hard rock. If you're expecting a load of leftover songs that were meant for Guns N' Roses, not the case at all. Slash actually said that this is actually a proper band, even though it says Slash's Snake Pit. He said it was a proper band featuring contributions from all members. You have, I think it's Eric Dover on the vocals here. Excellent singer, brilliant, brilliant voice, excellent stuff. Vocals are fantastic. This has got Matt Sorum on the drums, Gilby Clark on the rhythm guitars, which of course were Slash's bandmates at the time. You've got Dizzy Reed on the keyboards, who's also in Guns N' Roses. And on the bass here, we have Mike Inez from Alice in Chains and Ozzy Osbourne. When I saw him at Donington, they had Brian Tichy and James Amenzo from Pride and Glory at the time. Great album, this. This is another one I didn't pick up for quite a while. The first track, Neither Can I, is really good. Dime Store Rock, Beggars and Hangers On, that was the first single, which is great. Soma City Ward, Take It Away, Do In Line, I Hate Everybody But You. Back and Forth Again. This is produced by Mike Klink, who of course did Appetites for Destruction for Guns N' Roses. Excellent blues rock, which I wish I'd picked up earlier, but I got there in the end. A really good album from these guys. Definitely not just a load of leftover Guns N' Roses songs. Excellent stuff. Bluesy hard rock. If you're not familiar with it, it's definitely worth checking out. No doubt about it. Right, number 21. Paradise Lost, Draconian Times. I'm very lucky to have this original press from 1995. For me, this album would be much higher up the list if the second half of it was as good as the first, but I definitely think this album is front-loaded. Kicks off with Enchantment and goes straight into Hallowed Land, which is a fantastic song. Really like the piano parts in that. The Last Time, that was the lead single. Great track. Forever Failure is really good. But yeah, when it gets to the second half of this album, I don't enjoy it anywhere near as much. And nothing is bad here. But for me, the second half is just nowhere near as strong as the first. Great vocals from Nick Holmes. The guitars of Aaron Eady and Gregor McIntosh are fantastic. I cannot remember who was on the drums or the bass on this album, actually. But really good stuff. The first half especially, anyway. The second half is okay, but it's just nowhere near as catchy or as punchy for me. But when it's good, it's really, really good. These guys were really on top of the world back in the mid-90s. And should have gone to be much bigger as far as I'm concerned, but they kind of went down a bit of a Depeche Mode route, and I think a lot of the fans just were not down with it at all and jumped ship. But Draconian Times and Paradise Lost is a good album, but definitely could be better in my book. But still plenty of good stuff here to get your teeth into if you've not heard it. Definitely some gothic touches on this. Very doomy in places, but also quite commercial sound in other places as well. So Draconian Times, Paradise Lost, good stuff. Right, number 20 now, and an album that I think is a bit overrated, if I'm honest. At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul. This is an album that has been copied many, many times over the years. The style, anyway, this kind of melodic death metal was kind of new back at the time. Now, for me, this is the exact same. The problem with this is the exact same problem that I have with the Paradise Lost album. First side's absolutely outstanding. Second side, for me, it just isn't as memorable. But kicks off with Blinded by Fear. Excellent stuff. Slaughter of the Soul, Cold, Under a Serpent Sun. I absolutely love that main riff in that. The intro riff is absolutely fantastic. The drums are amazing. Into the Dead Sky closes side A. And on side B, you've got stuff like Suicide Nation and Unto Others, which is good. Need. But yeah, it's just not as strong as side A. Side A is absolutely outstanding. The side B is just fine. So that's why it's so low down the list. If side A was as good as side B, sorry, side B was as good as side A, this would be much, much higher up the list. But it's got some great drums on it. I think it's Adrian L. Anderson. He went on to playing Cradle Filth for a while. Great vocals, guitars are fantastic. Some really nice riffs, especially in Under a Serpent Sun. I can listen to that song all day, will never get bored. Great stuff from these guys. Could be a little bit better, but definitely not a bad album by any stretch of imagination. Out the gates, Slaughter of the Soul is absolutely essential when it comes to how much bands rip them off over the years. But for me, just could be a bit better on side B. Up next is the second full length from Vader, and I can't bloody pronounce the title, so I'm not going to bother. This is a fantastic album. It's only about 35 minutes long, gets the job done, no messing, brilliant vocals, the drums are fantastic, great guitars. For me, the snare drum's a little bit high in the mix sometimes. But it's excellent slice of death metal, Silent Empire, An Act of Darkness, Incarnation, Revolt of Blood, of Moon, Blood and Dream and Me, Vision and the Voice, Reborn in Flames, death metal that doesn't mess about, gets the job done, Fast and Furious, really, really good stuff. Excellent album from these guys. I think I like this more than their debut, actually, but that's not saying anything bad about the debut, that's fantastic. But Vader's second full-length LP, excellent stuff, brilliant death metal, very, very punchy. Slaps you around the face and gets out of there in just about 30 minutes, and it's an excellent album. Up next is let's have a quick look at my notes. Right, number 18, and now a lot of people hate this album. This is the first album I heard from this band, and I can understand why old school fans don't like it, because it's completely different from what they did before. This is the very first CD I ever bought, and it's Black Faith by Cancer. Now, these guys are full on death metal before this, but I think they signed to a major label for this one, and no doubt the label told them needed to lighten things up, make it a bit more commercial for sales. But it just alienated a massive part of the core fan base. But this is the first album I heard from these guys, so I really enjoy it. It's not as good as what come before it, though. There's no doubt about it. It's the original lineup which made the earlier albums, but it's much more commercial sounding. But Who Do You Think You Are? Track 2 is really, really good. Without Cause is a great track. The title track, Black Faith, I think is fantastic. I really like the acoustic guitar parts in that song. There's a cover in here of Deep Purple's Space Trucking. Ends with Save Me From Myself. I like it, but I can definitely understand the dislike from the old school fans. You know, it was completely different, and it is not as strong, but I still enjoy it. Cancer's Black Faith, a decent album, but I definitely don't understand why some people didn't like it. Right, number 17 now, and some full-on death metal from Suffocation. This is Pierced From Within. Great album from these guys. Frank Mullen's vocals, just fantastic. One of my favourite death metal vocalists. Is so guttural the vocals. They sound fantastic. Guitars sound great on this album. Some great riffs. The drums are brilliant as well. Title track that kicks off is absolutely phenomenal. Thrones of Blood, Suspended Tribulation, Synthetically Revived, Brood of Hatred, Breeding the Spawn. Just an excellent, excellent album. Again, a bit like the Vader one, sort of gives you a slap around the face and then it's out of there in no time. Excellent, excellent stuff from these guys. No bad songs on this at all. I really, really do enjoy this one. Definitely an improvement on Breeding the Spawn. Not as good as the debut, but Suffocation's Pierced From Within It's an excellent slice of death metal, which I only picked up about a year ago, I think, but really, really enjoy this one a lot. These guys don't let you down very often, it has to be said, and it's another stellar LP from these guys. Number 16, some thrash from Germany again, and it's Tankard and the Tankard. Great album from these guys. Again, we've got some great riffs here, fantastic vocals, the drums are superb, and some really, really good, well-written songs. Kicks off with Grave New World, which is great. Minds on the Moon, Close Encounter, Mess in the West, Atomic Twilight, Fuck Christmas is a really, really good song. And you got Positive, which is the second from last track, which is one of my favourites on the album, actually. Some really good lyrics in that. I think it's discussing HIV. Yeah, it's a great album. Lots of good vocals, some really good riffs, some catchy songs, full-on thrash metal. These guys weren't changing up their style back in the mid-90s like some thrash metal bands had. Not these guys. They were doing it the way they'd always done it, and it's better for it. Tankard's the Tankard is an excellent album that I really, really enjoy. Plenty of good riffs, plenty of good thrashing fun, excellent stuff. Now, I am surprised this one is as hard to list as it is, but here we go. No Doubt and Tragic Kingdom. These guys were absolutely everywhere back in the day, especially the single Don't Speak. I mean, even if you're not a fan, you'll know though that song because it was absolutely everywhere. I'm pretty sure it was the #1 single here in the UK. But the rest of the album is actually really strong. Yeah, so Ska Punk. I don't think I've ever had that on my channel before. Kicks off with Spider's Web. This is a great tune. Excuse Me Mr. Track 2, really good. Just a Girl, another massive single. Great track. I like that one a lot. Happy Now, good song. Then we've got 16, which is a really great track. Sunday Morning, very, very catchy. You Can Do It. But it's a bit too long. If they cut about 3, maybe 4 songs from this, it would be better for it. But it does drag its feet a little. But when it's good, it's really, really good. But it does drag its feet a bit. It doesn't need to be as long as it is. Gwen Stefani on the vocals. Her voice is very, very good. The guitar's good. Rhythm sections are good. And it's a bunch of really well-written, catchy songs. But yeah, it's just a little bit too long. Cut a few tracks from it, they'd be much better. But I'm amazed this was as high up this as it was. I'm not listening to it for quite a while. When I listened back to it, I really enjoyed it much more than I thought I was going to. Because it has been quite a long time since I heard this. But no doubt, Tragic Kingdom was an absolutely huge album. And even though I like Don't Speak, I don't ever need to hear it again. Up next, number 14. And here's Extreme and Waiting for the Punchline. A very underrated album, I think. This features Mike Mangini on the drums, who was fresh out of Annihilator. This is the first time I did know about him in Annihilator, but I think he only played on a couple of tracks now, whereas he plays the drums and all this. A massive upgrade from previous drummer Paul Geary. Pat Badger on the bass, Gary Train on the vocals, and of course the very, very talented Nuno Betancourt on the guitar. An underrated album. Really, really good stuff on this. There Is No God, first track is excellent. Cynical track 2 has got some amazing guitar riffing in it. I really, really enjoy the guitars on that one. Tell Me Something I Don't Want to Know, Hip Today. I remember getting that on the 12-inch single. Brilliant track, very, very catchy. Great chorus, brilliant vocals. Midnight Express, Leave Me Alone is a good song. No Respect is a great track. Shadow Boxing, stuff like that. An album that definitely should have sold more, but no doubt because these guys were a band who kind of made their name in the early 90s. Kind of on the whole hard rock sort of era. Probably sung with that trace purely because it was that they were a band from that era in the grunge era, and a lot of people didn't want to know. But it's definitely overlooked. It definitely deserves more love. Great vocals from Gary Train. Nuno Betancourt's guitar, and it's fantastic. Musically, it's great. I love Gary's vocals, and it's just a great album that's underappreciated and doesn't get anywhere near as much love as it should, as far as I'm concerned. Right, guys, made a fuck up there. Number 13. Yeah, that's right. It's 6 Feet Under's Haunted. Their debut album from obviously 1995. You've got Chris Barnes on the vocals here. It was fresh out of Cannibal Corpse. Alan West from Obituary on the guitar. And I think it's Terry Butler on the bass and Greg Gould on the drums. Excellent debut album from these guys. Kicks off with The Enemy Inside. Great chorus on that one. Silent Violence. Really, really catchy song. Love that one. Lycanthropy track 3 is probably my favourite on the whole album. I really enjoy that. Some great chorus. Beneath the Black Sky closes side A. Human Target, Suffering in Ecstasy, Tomorrow's Victim, Torn to the Bone, Haunted. Produced by Brian Slagle from Metal Blade. Excellent album. Nice debut from these guys. These guys get shit online. I think it's a bit unnecessary, truth be told. But 6 Feet Under's debut, Haunted, is a really, really good album. Barnes' voice here still sounding really, really strong. I have to say, though, musically, it's very, very similar to Obituary. Alan West wasn't moving far out of his comfort zone on this one, it has to be said. But 6 Feet Under's Haunted is an excellent slice of groovy, mid-paced death metal, and definitely one of their best as far as I'm concerned. Right, number 12, and AC/DC's Ball Breaker. Saw these guys on this tour, actually, up at Birmingham Arena. This is another one of those albums that back in the day I used to think it was okay, but the more I've listened to it, the more I've learned to appreciate it over the years. Obviously, the Young brothers on the guitars, Brian Johnson on vocals. This will Phil Rudd come back to the band after he'd been out of the band for about 12 years at this point. Cliff Williams on the bass. Great tracks on this. Kicks off a hard as a rock. Love the guitar intro. Really, really good. Cover You in Oil. It's a bit silly lyrically, but essentially it's a decent track. Boogeyman can get in the bin, though. That is one of the worst things I've ever done. Bloody awful. Burning Live closes out side A, which is really good. Hail Caesar on side 2. Love Bomb. Caught With Your Pants Down. Great track. Great riffing again. Whiskey on the Rocks. Title track. Yeah, this one is much, much better than I used to give it credit for. You know what you're going to get. It's that simple blues boogie hard rock from these guys that it's just absolutely fantastic. Really, really do enjoy this album much, much more than I used to. Ball Breaker from 1995 AC/DC is a very, very good album. I enjoy this one a lot. Number 11 now, and here's Faith No More with King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. Excellent album from these guys. A lot of people always say about The Real Thing of these guys being their best album, but not for me. This is my favourite either. I think Angel Dust, but this is my second favourite. Trace Spruance from Mr. Bungle on the guitar comes in to replace Jim Martin, who had left. Other than that, it's the same lineup who recorded The Real Thing. Get Out, the first track, is really, really good. Ricochet, excellent song. Evidence, which sounds like it could be getting played in a wine bar. It's got that kind of vibe to it. Very, very gentle and relaxed compared to the rest of the stuff on this album. The Gentle Art of Making Enemies, some excellent lyrics and vocals from Mike Patton in that song. Absolutely fantastic. Cuckoo for Kaka. Ugly in the Morning on side B. It's just excellent. Really, really out there vocals from Mike Patton. Really screaming. Sounds fantastic. Dig in the Grave. Great track. That was the first single. Take This Bottle. King for a Day. Stuff like that. It's a really, really good album. I enjoy it. It's not as good as Angel Dust, but still very, very good. Obviously, the musicianship from everyone is great, and Mike Patton is really on point with his vocals and with his lyric writing. Excellent stuff. Faith No More's King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. Excellent, excellent album. Right, guys, into the top 10 now, and some more alternative rock, and this is Garbage and their debut album. Featuring Butch Vig on the drums, who of course produced Nirvana's Nevermind and L7's Bricks Are Heavy. This features Shirley Manson on the vocals. A lady from Scotland who definitely could kick your ass if she wanted to. She definitely came across like she wasn't to be messed with. Some excellent alternative rock from these guys. Kicks off with Super Vixen. I really like the guitar intro from that track. Queer is their song 2. That was a single. Only Happy When It Rains is probably my favourite song on the album. Very, very catchy. Great chorus. Easy to sing along to. As Heaven's Wide, not my idea. Great tracks. Vow, Stupid Girl, that was probably the most famous song from this album. Really nice guitar lines in that, which are very, very catchy. Dog New Tricks. Again, one of my favourites on the album. It's really, really strong. Fix Me Now, great track. Ends with Milk. I had this on cassette back in the day and didn't get around to replacing it till years later. I found the CD for £1. And then I picked this up not long ago. And glad to have it in the collection on vinyl. Garbage's debut is just a fantastic alternative rock record. Great vocals. Musically, it doesn't knock me out at any point, but vocally, I really enjoy it. The lyrics are very, very good. It's just a really strong album I really, really enjoy. Up next, an album that's hated by a lot of people, an era that's disliked by a lot of people, but I've never been in that camp. One of the biggest heavy metal bands ever. But a lot of people don't like this era, but I'm definitely not one of them. Although I won't lie, this one did take me a few listens for it to click. It's Iron Maiden, The X Factor, the first album to feature Blaze Bayley on vocals. Yeah, so I'm not going to lie to you. The first few times I heard this, I remember thinking, it drags its feet too much and it's too long, and I need to knock it on the head with these long intros. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've learned to appreciate it. Blaze, of course, isn't as good as Bruce Dickinson, but hardly anyone is, let's be honest. But I like his vocals and I like his style on this album and the album that come after, it has to be said. It kicks off with Sign of the Cross, which for me is easy as good as anything they were putting out in the mid-80s with Bruce. An absolutely fantastic song, very epic, great vocals, just a great song. Then we have Lord of the Flies, track 2, excellent stuff, more up-tempo. Man on the Edge, that was the big single that come out from this one. Again, I like the vocals, love the chorus, very strong. Fortunes of War is a good song which is spoilt by some really lame lyric writing in the chorus. The chorus does let that song down. Look for the Truth is a good track. Judgment of Heaven, fantastic. Blood on the World's Hands is one of my favourite songs on the album. Fantastic chorus, very strong, great vocals. The Edge of Darkness and 2 AM drag their feet a little bit. The Unbeliever I really like. For me, though, this was definitely the start of when Iron Maiden started to make albums that went on for way too long. That was one of my main issues at the start. You know, you've got intros which seem to go on forever that just simply don't need to. And that is a mistake that Iron Maiden is still making to this day as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I still like other albums. I'm still a massive fan, obviously, but these long intros and outros on songs really do need to get in the bin. And that's when that started on this album for me. But yeah, Iron Maiden's The X Factor is an album that, with more listens, I learned to appreciate more, and I really do love now. Yeah, it's not as good as, you know, obviously stuff like Seventh Son or Peace of Mind, but it's an album that, for me, definitely does not deserve its terrible reputation. Not one little bit. Number 8 now. And one of my favourite bands, no doubt about it, is Alice in Chains and their self-titled album. Just love this band. Fantastic. The vocal harmonies from Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell are always amazing. Always great guitar work from Jerry. Mike Inez on the bass here. This is his first album in the band. And of course, Sean Kinney on the drums. Kicks off with Grind and then Brush Away, 2 good songs. Sludge Factory, great stuff. Heaven Beside You, fantastic song. Very melancholic, but sounds great. Head Creeps, then you got Again, which is a really up-tempo track with some great riffing, some excellent vocals as always. Goddamn Nothing Song, excellent track. Frogs, Over Now. No bad songs in this. Definitely not my favourite Alice in Chains album, it has to be said. There's nothing on here that I don't like, but there's a few on here that I find average songs. You know, that don't sort of knock me out as much as other songs on this album, but it's an absolutely great album. Again, I'd love to get some vinyl, but again, it's very hard to come by. When it turns up, it's bloody expensive. But Alice in Chains' self-titled third full-length album from 1995 is fantastic stuff. Really, really good. You know, it's a shame Lane's not around anymore, but William Duval's doing a great job, it has to be said. But yeah, great album from these guys, and of course the last album to feature, studio album to feature Lane Staley. Number 7. And it's the debut album from the Foo Fighters. So obviously this is the first thing they did after Nirvana disbanded. At this point it was a one-man project. Dave Grohl played all the instruments on this. Obviously did the vocals, and this is much better than the more sort of radio-friendly stuff they're putting out these days. This is just a fantastic album. It's really, really good. Excellent alternative rock. Before they went more commercial. Kicks off with This Is a Call. I'll stick around, probably my favourite song on the album. Great vocals, great lyrics and that. Big Me's a good tune. Alone an Easy Target. Good Grief. Really aggressive sounding stuff. Weenie Beanie, For All the Cows, Ecstatic. Watershed, Exhausted. Guitar tone on this record's fantastic. It's quite a raw sounding album. If you've never heard it, you might want to give it a try, but don't expect the kind of radio-friendly stuff they put out these days, because it's not like it at all. But it's really, really strong stuff. Grohl's a very, very talented man, of course, and he did a great job on this first album. An album that a lot of people will probably ignore because they're such a massive crossover behemoth these days. But for me, it's an absolutely amazing album and definitely one of the best things they ever did. Foo Fighters debut from obviously 1995. Fantastic stuff. Number 6, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. If you were around at the time, then you will know that this album was absolutely everywhere back at the time. This thing is made up half of huge hit singles, but even the stuff that's not singles is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm kind of surprised myself it's so high up the list, but when I listen back to it for this video, it's just like, I just forgot how good it was. There's no bad songs on this. It's absolutely fantastic. Kicks off with All I Really Want, which is a good track. Then the first song I ever heard from this, You Ought to Know, that's got Flea and John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers. On the bass and the drums, sorry, the bass and the guitar. The drums on this weren't played by Taylor Hawkins, but he was in the touring band. Perfect, great track. Hand in My Pocket, another massive single that I really enjoy. Right Through You, Forgiven. Side A, no bad songs. Side 2 kicks off with You Learn, which is such a good track. Head Over Feet, again, a really, really good song. Ironic, another massive single. Not the Doctor, Wake Up. Alanis' vocals are fantastic. The instrumentation is amazing. The lyrics, for the most part, are really good. I know a lot of people criticise the lyrics in the song Ironic, and I definitely see where they're coming from. But yeah, I'm amazed myself. This is as high up the list as it is, but I can listen to it from start to finish and enjoy it still to this day as much as I did back in the mid-90s. No bad songs, fantastic stuff. Crossover pop rock from this Canadian, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, fantastic stuff. Right, now into the top 5, and a band that hardly ever gets shown in the VC, and I don't understand why. Here's the Wild Hearts and PHUQ. These guys are from Newcastle in the north of England, northeast. Excellent album. Ginger Wildheart, the main guy from this band, is such an amazing songwriter and just gets criminally overlooked for his songwriting abilities. Absolutely fantastic album. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. It's just so catchy. If you're not familiar with these guys, this is rock and roll. Definitely with a punk edge to it, but with very, very catchy, poppy sing-along choruses. Just a fantastic band that just do not get enough recognition. Kicks off with I Want to Go Where the People Go. It was just a single, brilliant track. V-Day, fantastic song. Justin Lust, very catchy, very poppy, but a brilliant song. Probably my favourite song on the entire album. Nina Nitro, fantastic song. Caprice, again, brilliant. Be My Drug, in Lily's Garden, ends with Getting It. Yeah, completely overlooked band. This album's absolutely amazing. No one ever talks about it, ever talks about them, and I don't understand why. Excellent stuff from these guys. This and their debut, Earth vs. Wild Hearts, are just absolutely essential albums. British rock albums from the 90s. Excellent stuff from the Wild Hearts. Brilliant, brilliant album. No bad songs. It is an absolute banger, and it's definitely worthy of being in 5th position. No doubt about it. Number 4 now. And Deersides, Once Upon the Cross. This one doesn't get talked about a lot, really, compared to the first two. People tend to talk about the first two, and for me, this one gets a bit overlooked. Fantastic production. This sounds amazing. Excellent guitar work on this album. The riffs are amazing. The solos are very, very good. Of course, Steve Asheim's drums are fantastic, and the vocal delivery of Glenn Bennett is as demonic sounding as always. An absolutely amazing album that for me just doesn't get talked about enough. Kicks off with the title track, which is just excellent stuff. Christ Denied. Love the intro guitar riff. When Satan Rules His World, excellent track. Kill the Christians is particularly brutal. Trick or Betrayed, there's no bad songs on the side A. They Are the Children of the Underworld kicks off side B, which is such a catchy song. Very, very catchy chorus. Just goes to show you can play death metal but still write catchy stuff. Ends with Confessional Rape on side B. Just a fantastic album. For me, Behind the Light, though, They Shall Rise and To Be Dead are a little bit filler, but not bad songs by any stretch of imagination. And Deersides, Once Upon the Cross, is just an absolute death metal behemoth. But for me, gets a little bit overlooked. Just an excellent, excellent album. I absolutely love this one. Brilliant stuff. Sounds fantastic. Great production. Great vocals. Great guitars. Great drums. Pretty much a perfect album. Number 3 now, and for me, some Trailblazers. And here's Fear Factory's Demanufacture. I had never heard anything like this before. It's definitely got an industrial side to it. I think the keyboards added by producer Reese Fulber definitely gave it an edge. The guitar playing of Dino Cazares and the drums of Raymond Herrera are just absolutely so locked in tight, it's ridiculous. But for me, the biggest thing about this album was Burton C. Bell's vocals. At the time, I'd never heard anything like it. I'd never heard anyone go from that clean vocals, proper clean, to then those really, really harsh vocals. And they're not as harsh as they are on their debut, Soul of a New Machine, but still harsh. It's a vocal style that's been copied constantly over the years, particularly from the metalcore scene. But back in 1995, I'd never heard anything like it. Just an absolutely fantastic album, packed with great riffs, brilliant, brilliant vocals. The production's fantastic. Like I say, the keyboard parts, a nice production layering, give it that kind of futuristic sound. And the album just amazing, amazing stuff. Starts off with the title track is brilliant. Self-Biased Resistor is great. Zero Signal, probably my favourite song on the album. The vocals in that are just absolutely outstanding. Replica was the big single that a lot of people will remember. New Breed is very brutal. Dog Day Sunrise, great track. Body Hammer, Flashpoint, HK Hunt the Killer. Piss Christ, A Therapy for Pain. That is the only song for me I'm not too fussed about, A Therapy for Pain. It goes on for too long. Could definitely have done with having 2 or 3 minutes shaved off the end. But, you know, that's very, very minimal stuff. Very, very minimal criticism. Fear Factory's Demanufactured is my number 3 for 1995. Just an absolutely phenomenal album that for me was a game changer. Definitely a trailblazer band as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. Just a phenomenal record. It's absolutely huge and I absolutely love it. Another absolute beast now, number 2, and here's Morbid Angels, Domination. I often see people say that they fell off with Morbid Angel with this album, and I absolutely do not understand why. For me, it's pretty much absolutely perfect. It's only Hate Work at the end, which for me is a little bit weak, but I still really enjoy it. But it kicks off with Dominate, which is a fantastic song, and then goes straight into Where the Slime Live, which for me is one of the best death metal songs ever written. I'd never heard anything like it in death metal at the time. You got that really slow riff, and then Pete Sandoval's really fast double kick drums blasting away behind it, which just sounds amazing to me now, and I just don't ever get bored of hearing it. Dave Vincent's vocals are fantastic. Eyes to See, Ears to Hear is fantastic as well. Nothing But Fear, great track. Side 2 kicks off with Dawn of the Angry, which has just got such a phenomenal guitar riff that kicks it off. Very, very catchy riff, an excellent riff. This Means War, Caesar's Palace, Inquisition to Burn With Me, ends with Hate Work. Hate Work's the other one for me is a little bit weak, but it's certainly not bad. It's just an absolutely fantastic album. I cannot understand why some Morbid Angel fans don't like it. For me, it's pretty much perfect. It's my number 2 album, 1995. It's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. Just such a great album. But there's one that's just a slightly bit better than this one. But this is an absolute beast. But the one that tops the list is without a doubt Death's Symbolic. I knew this was going to take something really special to beat this album, as I always do with these videos. I go back and listen to everything. But this for me is still the best. Just phenomenal stuff. This is not an original press. This is a Metal Blade reissue on white vinyl. It's my favourite Death album, so it was going to take something very, very good to top it, but it just can't be done. It's just a perfect album. A lot of people prefer like the earlier stuff like Scream Bloody Gore and Leprosy, but this is my favourite. It's just phenomenal. Gene Hoglan on the drums, Chuck obviously. Kelly Conlon on the bass. I can't remember the name of the guitar player. But it's just brilliant. Title track's amazing. Love the riffs in that. The vocals are great from Chuck. Zero Tolerance, Empty Words, Sacred Tyranny, 1000 Eyes. Sarday's perfect and there's no bad songs. Without Judgment, Crystal Mountain, Mister on the Throat, Perennial Quest. Perfect. No bad songs. Everything's amazing. All the instruments are fantastic. All the musical performances are brilliant. Chuck's vocals are, of course, excellent. Going in a bit more of a progressive direction, obviously, from the earlier stuff. But it's just phenomenal for me. Gene Hoglan's drums are fantastic. Everything that guy does is amazing. Chuck's vocals are superb. It's just a perfect album. I just can't say enough good things about it. I can just listen to the whole thing from front to back and it never, ever gets old. Just phenomenal stuff. Death Symbolic, 1995, #1 album, no doubt about it. I thought it was going to be the case, and it definitely turned out to be the case. Morbid Angel and Fear Factory are very, very close to it, but for me, this is definitely my #1. Symbolic from Death, #1 album, 1995. Job done. Right, guys, that is it for this video. Cheers for watching. Thank you very much, because I know it's a long one, so I appreciate if you got all the way to the end. As always, get in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this list. What is your favourite album in 1995? And one more thing before I go, because I've forgotten to do this for the last few weeks, and I've finally remembered. A good friend of mine, Nick, who is in of my band of Concrete Gods, he's the vocalist. His other band, his new band, Screaming Mechanical Brain, have put out their first song about a month ago now, maybe 5 weeks ago. So if you listen to Concrete Gods and you like Nick's vocals, definitely head over and check out their track. I'll leave a link to their YouTube channel and to their Spotify. So go over and check it out. It's really good stuff. That is it for this week, guys. I shall be back with you soon with another video. So until then, as always, cheers, take care, and I'll see you later.